Tonight, we're looking at one of the most shocking and heartbreaking chapters connected to TLC's 90-Day Fiancé. This isn't gossip. This isn't just drama. A child was born. Her name is Matilda. At first, the headlines want you to believe this is a happy ending. Soft photos, sweet captions, calm lighting. The story being sold is that Jasmine Panetta finally found peace. But when you look closer, when you strip away the filters and stage smiles, a much darker story appears. When the cameras on the last resort stopped rolling, that's when everything really began. What we're about to break down is what appears to be one of the most carefully managed timeline manipulations in reality TV history. Jasmine didn't accidentally fall into a new relationship. She didn't suddenly become a mother. According to the theory, this was planned. A web of hidden timelines, overlapping relationships, and unanswered questions about paternity. Things the network never wanted viewers to look too closely at. You think you know the story of Gino and Jasmine, but what you've seen may only be the version TLC approved. We're peeling back the friends with benefits explanation. We're addressing allegations that Gino was hiding other women. And most importantly, we're examining the DNA timeline that changes how this entire story looks. This isn't speculation for shock value. This is Voya Flickm, and we're telling the version of events that never made it to air. To understand how we got to a baby named Matilda in March 2025, we have to go back to the moment everything cracked. Think about the finale of The Last Resort. Viewers were distracted by yelling, tears, and chaos. But there was a small moment that stood out. Gino reached for Jasmine's arm, and she pulled away. That reaction didn't look like anger. It looked like discomfort, like someone who was already emotionally gone. By that point, many believed Jasmine had already checked out, not just emotionally, but privately, while the audience was still questioning whether the relationship could survive. This leads to what fans call the burner phone theory. Some viewers believe Jasmine had a second phone during filming, not to argue with Gino, not to post on social media, but to communicate with someone known only as N. While Gino slept in the next room, Jasmine was allegedly texting someone else about her unhappiness, about intimacy, control, and dissatisfaction. If true, she wasn't trying to fix her relationship. She was preparing for a new one. The timeline we were shown doesn't seem to line up. Matilda was born in March 2025. That places conception around June 2024. So where were Jasmine and Gino at that time? On television, they were still engaged and working through issues. But social media paints a different picture. Gino posted consistently from Michigan. Family events, local activities. Jasmine's location became unclear. Fans noticed reflections, backgrounds, and scenery that didn't match Michigan. Instead, they looked more like Miami or New York. This is where the story shifts from a breakup to what appears to be a double life. While Gino believed he was still fighting for the relationship, Jasmine may have already moved on. That brings us to Matt Branistriano. Matt isn't a reality star. He doesn't have a huge online presence. He appears ordinary, and that's exactly why he matters. He doesn't fit the usual pattern. He's not chasing fame. And because of that, he complicates the narrative. Jasmine didn't choose another TV personality. She chose someone quiet, someone off camera. Fans began noticing men appearing in her workout videos. At the time, it was brushed off as a trainer or a spotter, just fitness content. But when people went back and watched closely, the body language told a different story. The comfort, the closeness, that kind of ease doesn't usually exist between strangers. Many believe this was Matt's first quiet appearance, hidden in plain sight. During this same period, the conception window for Matilda lines up. It appears Jasmine may have been testing how much she could reveal without raising suspicion. But the most troubling detail isn't a video. It's a report. 2 months before the public breakup, a report surfaced about an argument in a Miami hotel lobby. A witness claimed the woman resembled Jasmine, and the man matched Matt's description. The argument wasn't about dinner or travel plans. According to the source, it was about safety. That detail matters. It suggests this wasn't a random encounter. It was an ongoing relationship. Meanwhile, Gino was still in Michigan, believing his visa situation and relationship were intact. When you live two lives at the same time, nothing is accidental. Then comes the live broadcast, the moment many consider the most revealing. Frame by frame, viewers noticed how Jasmine shifted roles. She cried. She spoke about harassment, intimidation, and judgment. But when the focus turned to Gino, the tears stopped. Her voice changed. Her expression hardened. Then came the careful wording. She said the baby was Matt's, but listen to how she described their relationship. Not boyfriend, not partner. She called it a co-parenting, friends with benefits situation. That wording stood out. Why would a pregnant woman, allegedly involved with someone for months, choose such a specific and detached phrase? Some believe it wasn't emotional, it was legal. If Jasmine admitted she was in a committed relationship with Matt while still legally tied to Gino through the K-1 visa process, that could raise serious questions. By calling it friends with benefits, it creates distance. It suggests no emotional commitment, no overlap, no deception. This was never about love. It was about physical comfort, a defense mechanism, not a relationship, but a way to stay in the country without changing her legal status. Even the baby's name matters. Matilda doesn't carry a Panamanian tone. It isn't tied to the Palazzolo name either. The name feels soft, traditional, and carefully chosen. It points away from the chaos of the 90-day fiancé world and toward Matt. The name creates a separate universe for the child, one where Gino does not exist. That choice alone marked the final break. Naming the baby Matilda wasn't accidental. It was a statement. This child belongs to a different life. So why would Jasmine take such a risk? Why destroy her national TV debut? Because biology doesn't wait. She had to act before the math caught up. A baby born in March 2025 makes it impossible to claim she was still with Gino in late 2024. The timeline would expose everything. The breakup had to happen fast. And for Matt to be accepted by the public, Gino had to become the villain. That's exactly what happened. Jasmine didn't just leave Gino. She destroyed his image. Suddenly, the story flipped. Gino was shown as weak, confused, holding onto a pregnancy test that was never his. Then came the most shocking accusation of all. Jasmine claimed Gino was dating 10 other women at the same time. At first, it sounded unbelievable. Gino, the man who eats frozen meals and avoids spending money, juggling 10 women? But then another theory emerged. Researchers digging through sugar dating sites found what appears to be an archived profile. The timing matched the same months Jasmine feared she was pregnant. The photo was blurry, but the hat, the pose, and the posture looked familiar. The location kept returning to Michigan. The profile was vague, but if it was real, it changed everything. If Gino was paying for online companionship, Jasmine suddenly had justification. Seeking comfort with Matt wouldn't be betrayal, it would be revenge. She could say he did it first. This forces a deeper question. Was Gino truly blindsided, or was he quietly involved? Some sources suggest Gino may have known about Matt early on. One theory claims that Gino, unable or unwilling to meet Jasmine's physical needs, privately agreed to a friends with benefits arrangement as long as it stayed hidden. Jasmine got attention. Gino kept his TV role. Everyone benefited. Until the pregnancy. That was the variable no one planned for. A baby can't be hidden. A baby needs a father. And Gino was not prepared to publicly raise another man's child. That's where the story breaks apart. Let's return to the math. Born March 2025. Conceived around June 2024. Still engaged on television. The overlap is undeniable. And here's the rumor coming from inside production circles. Prenatal paternity testing is possible. Some believe a test was done quietly, away from cameras. Jasmine may have hoped the results would favor Gino, so the storyline could survive. When the results reportedly pointed to Matt, panic followed. That panic explains the erratic social media behavior. The sudden tone shifts. The cryptic quotes about betrayal and new beginnings. She knew the explosion was coming. March 2025 was the deadline. Then there's the most disturbing rumor of all. The $50,000 hush money theory. According to this claim, once Gino realized the baby might not be his, he offered Jasmine money to leave quietly. The goal was simple. avoid 18 years of child support, and avoid a public paternity scandal. The alleged deal was this: take the money, go to Matt, remove Gino's name from the birth certificate. A business transaction. Jasmine may have accepted because Matt offered a different kind of stability. That would explain how fast the transition happened and how it was funded. She had a parachute. But that brings us to the next problem, the co-parenting trap. Jasmine insists Matt is the father, but only a friend with benefits. That label collapses the moment a newborn enters the picture. A baby doesn't care about definitions. At 3 a.m., someone has to wake up. A baby needs diapers, health insurance, a crib, and legal responsibility. You can't casually co-parent with someone you're not officially with. This situation may be even more unstable than what she had with Gino. And then there's Matt. Why is he silent? No interviews. No social media statements. No channel. No defense. His silence speaks louder than words. Some say he's scared. Others believe he's being controlled. There are rumors of an unreleased interview where Matt allegedly said, "I love Matilda, but Jasmine is intense." If true, that says everything. He thought he was entering a casual situation. Instead, he became a father and a character in a reality TV scandal. The trap was set long before he realized it. Now we come to the most dangerous issue, immigration. Gino brought Jasmine to the United States on a K-1 visa. Her legal status is tied to that marriage. Getting pregnant by another American man without completing the green card process places her in legal limbo. That's why the friends with benefits wording matters so much. She cannot publicly admit to a real relationship with Matt without risking immigration consequences. The government forces her into careful language. The audience is her income. Gino is her visa history. Matt is the father of her child. It's a triangle with no safe outcome. This wasn't just cheating. Jasmine exposed the entire 90-day fiancé system. She showed how timelines can be edited, relationships can be transactional, and babies remain real no matter how much producers try to shape the story. Looking at photos of baby Matilda isn't just heartwarming. It raises questions. A hidden timeline, a gym buddy turned father, a husband reduced to a supporting character. The verdict many have reached is harsh but clear. Jasmine used Gino for fame. She turned to Matt for the child. And the audience became spectators in her strategy. Matilda is the only innocent one, born into scandal, given a name meant to shield her, and raised inside a confusing arrangement she never chose. Why would someone go this far? Why risk public backlash, legal trouble, and permanent damage to their image? Because control is power. In reality television, control over the narrative is everything. Once the story is told for you, you lose leverage. Jasmine understood that better than most. She didn't want to wait for producers, editors, or bloggers to define what happened. She moved first. She framed the story before the math could expose her. The cost of that control is becoming clear. First, there is the emotional cost. No matter how carefully the situation is explained, no child grows up untouched by chaos. Even if Matilda is loved, provided for, and protected, she will one day learn that her existence was surrounded by secrecy, conflict, and competing versions of the truth. That weight doesn't disappear just because adults insist they did their best. Then there is the cost to Gino. Whether viewers sympathize with him or not, his identity within the franchise is permanently altered. He is no longer the awkward partner or the misunderstood husband. He is either the villain Jasmine painted him as or the man who was quietly replaced. In both versions, he loses agency. His story ends not with closure, but with questions. And then there is Matt. Matt may be the least prepared person in this entire situation. He didn't sign up for reality television. He didn't build a brand. He didn't rehearse confessionals. Yet he is now tied forever to a narrative that millions of people are dissecting online. Silence might be his only defense. Speaking could trigger legal consequences. Staying quiet keeps options open. But silence also allows others to tell his story for him. Every day he doesn't speak, the version of events hardens without him. And then there is Jasmine herself. Control has a price. Maintaining it requires constant performance. Every interview, every caption, every word choice has to align. One slip, one contradiction, and the entire structure collapses. That's exhausting. The audience often misunderstands manipulation as confidence, but long-term manipulation requires fear. Fear of exposure, fear of timelines, fear of one document, one test result, or one person speaking out of turn. This is where the story shifts from scandal to pressure. Because no matter how carefully things are framed, reality eventually pushes back. A baby grows. Questions get asked. Schools need forms. Doctors need histories. Immigration systems don't run on vibes or Instagram captions. They run on paperwork. And paperwork doesn't care about television edits. This is why the friends with benefits label keeps resurfacing. It isn't about honesty. It's about flexibility. That phrase allows room to maneuver. It keeps doors open. It avoids firm statements that could later be used against her. But that strategy only works for so long. Eventually, someone has to be named. A father has to be listed. A relationship has to be defined. And once that happens, the past gets re-examined. That's when the timeline becomes dangerous. June 2024 is the center of everything. That's the month where all stories collide. Television commitments, social media inconsistencies, travel questions, emotional distance, new faces, old promises. You can blur a timeline for viewers. You can't blur it for lawyers, immigration officers, or family courts. And this is the part TLC can't edit. Networks can soften language. They can delay episodes. They can redirect attention. What they can't do is rewrite birth dates, conception windows, or legal records. This is why many believe the network is quietly distancing itself. Silence from production isn't neutrality. It's risk management. When a story moves from entertainment into legal territory, the safest move is to step back and let individuals carry the consequences, which leaves the audience asking the same question over and over again. Was this all worth it? Fame is temporary. Scandals move fast. New couples replace old ones. But children don't rotate out of seasons. They stay. Matilda will outlive this storyline. She will outgrow the hashtags. And one day, she will search her own name. What she finds will matter. That's the final cost no one wants to talk about. Not the comments. Not the backlash. Not even the legal uncertainty. The cost is legacy. Every adult involved is writing a permanent record for a child who didn't choose this stage. And that's why this story still isn't finished. Because the truth doesn't end when a season wraps. It waits. It surfaces in unexpected ways. Through documents. Through interviews. Through moments no one can control. The burner phones, the timelines, the hush money rumors, the wording choices. All of it points to one thing. This wasn't chaos. It was strategy. Whether that strategy was necessary or destructive depends on who you believe. But the consequences will unfold no matter what. When Matt speaks, the story changes. When legal documents surface, the story changes. When Matilda grows up, the story changes again. What happens next is not dramatic in the way reality TV usually is. There are no screaming matches, no explosive confessionals, no reunion stage moment where everything is resolved. What happens next is slower, quieter, and far more serious. Time takes over. Time is the one thing no one can manipulate forever. As weeks turn into months, the story stops being controlled by interviews and social media posts and starts being shaped by real life. Sleepless nights, doctor visits, legal paperwork, family questions, financial pressure. These are not things that can be edited or delayed. This is where the weight of the situation begins to settle on everyone involved. For Jasmine, the pressure is constant. Every public appearance requires precision. Every word must be chosen carefully. She has to be strong, composed, and convincing at all times. There is no room for exhaustion, doubt, or contradiction. If she shows confusion, the narrative cracks. If she shows certainty, she risks legal consequences. That kind of balance is impossible to maintain long term. For Gino, the silence becomes its own sentence. Whether he agreed to anything privately or not, he is now locked out of the story. He can't correct it without reopening wounds. He can't stay quiet without letting others define him. Every option costs him something. Public sympathy fades quickly. People move on. But the humiliation lingers. For Matt, reality arrives without warning. Becoming a father changes everything. It forces choices. It forces responsibility. It forces visibility. The idea that he could stay on the sidelines was never realistic. Eventually, schools, doctors, and government forms will ask the same question again and again. Who are you to this child? And that question doesn't accept vague answers. Friends with benefits is not a legal role.